Could we bring the lights up, please? Could we bring the house lights up a bit, please? I know you're all excited to see Andy's presentation, but we're grateful he could come share his experience at NTID. We have the Edmund Lyon Memorial Lecture. It's given twice a year. Each semester, we invite a guest speaker who's a successful deaf individual from industry, and they come to present at the college at NTID to students in a similar program. This semester, we're having communication studies, and we're happy to have Andreas Wezel Peterson with us. He's the Lyon lecturer, and that's supported by the Lyon family. Edmund Lyon was involved with the Rochester School for the Deaf for many years and was also on the RIT Board of Trustees. He had a strong interest in the deaf community in Rochester and took the opportunity to advocate and bring people here to demonstrate successful deaf individuals who can serve as role models for our students. And this semester we've brought Andreas, who can talk about his experience. I advise you to pay attention and learn from him, and give a warm welcome to Andy. Hi, I'm Andy, and I'm sure happy to be here today. I still can't believe it. This is a record opportunity for me. It's the opportunity of a lifetime. I want to first talk a little about my background and who I am, how I ended up in California working at Disney. And then I want to talk a bit about my company. I also want to talk about my work, what I actually do as a communication designer. So I hope you'll enjoy the presentation today. I hope I can inspire you. I grew up in Germany and then moved to Rochester in the year 2000 without money, support, without clothes, without anything, just starting out from scratch. Could you imagine that? In 2001, I enrolled here at RIT NTID, majoring in AIS, which is, the major was AIS. I graduated with an associate degree, and then cross-registered at RIT, graduating in 2008. After I graduated, I had no idea what I wanted to do. Of course, that was a scary moment because I felt like I left my family here and all my friends. I was on my own. I had 3 cities I was thinking of: Boston. Also, I thought about moving to Texas or California. I picked California because I thought there were so many opportunities. It's a center of entertainment in the entertainment industry. And I didn't have a job or any sort of offer, but I took the risk of moving out to California. No way to earn money or support myself, but I had saved so I could survive for 4 months without working at all. When I moved to California, I took several months off, about 6 months off. However, within 2 weeks, I got a phone call. I had no idea who was calling. I went to the vocational rehab office, VR, to get an interpreter, find out who called me. They said that Disney had called me. They found my resume on monster.com. I was really surprised. I couldn't believe it. And I still don't understand why they picked me over other people. But there's so many people out there. I just couldn't believe it. But I asked them how they found me. So I did call back. And I had my first preliminary interview via telephone. I didn't know that they actually did preliminary interviews and did some pre-screening of applicants. And they said I passed the preliminary screening, and they set up an official interview. They called me back for a formal interview. That was on a Wednesday. Wednesday was interview day. I went over in the morning, and I couldn't believe I was on Disney's campus. I had my first tag was a visitor ID tag. I wasn't really nervous or anything because I felt I was so ready. First, I met with the interpreter to make sure that they'd understand me and prepare for the interview. I didn't want any miscommunication. I wanted things to go smoothly, and it worked out. So the first person that interviewed me was someone from Human Resources. If that person felt comfortable with me, then they'd inform my potential supervisor and boss, yep, go for it. So I got through the interview with HR, sent on to interview with my future boss, and the first, as a warm-up, I told them a little bit about myself and my background. Then I showed them my portfolio. I didn't tell them what I did, and I explained why I did it, the story behind that. And that was really best for me to demonstrate with my portfolio what my work was like. And we ran out of time pretty quickly. I realized I had 3 more people I still needed to interview with. So HR came back, asked me if I'd be able to interview again the next day. And I told them, sure, that's no problem. So I showed up, and I was lucky they had the same interpreter because we already knew each other. So I finished with some additional people, and as soon as I got home, I got an email from Human Resources that said, congratulations, you have the job. So I did an internship at first. It was a 6-month paid internship, and I couldn't believe it. Time went so fast. Every week, so much happened. I started on Monday, and before I knew it, the week was gone. The first day, I went to work, and all people have to go to the headquarters of Disney for a job orientation. You know, you learn about their policies all day long. You learn the history and background of Disney, who's the corporate president, and you have a corporate welcome. Then the next day, I got to meet the company where I'd work, my work area, and learn their policies, their corporate culture, and get an orientation to that specific area. And I met my boss, my immediate supervisor, and I didn't start working immediately. They gave me a week's time to get used to it, to get comfortable, to fit in. I had a chance to meet the people there and scope out what the culture was like. I thought I'd just start work immediately, but no, there was a time to adjust. Then they started giving me smaller assignments. They didn't give me a whole lot of responsibility. And as I did the smaller assignments, they kept giving me more and more responsibility. Let me explain a little about the company I work for. The Walt Disney Company is kind of the overarching umbrella, and that's Disney's headquarters. We have 5 subsidiaries or sub-corporations, divisions under Disney. There's Studio Entertainment, and it has other sub-companies within Studio Entertainment. You can see them here, Marvel and Miramax, Pixar. And I work for Disney Consumer Products, the second from the right on this slide, where there's 3 sub-companies. Disney Publishing, the Disney Store, you may have seen those at various malls, and the Disney retailing effort at Target and Walmart. So we do the production for their consumer products. You see Burbank here in the red? The red letters is Burbank. That's where Burbank is where Disney headquarters are. They're not in Anaheim like Disneyland. They're actually headquartered in Burbank. Disney has 2 areas you see here, the orange and the green. The orange is where the main corporate headquarters is, the business center. They also have the ABC Studios, Disney Animation, where they actually make the movies. They have sound stages, and really large sound stages. I don't work there, but I actually work within that green area. Here's an aerial view, and all these buildings are owned by Disney. You can imagine how big their campus is. Also, my company's involved with Disney Radio. They do Imagineering. When you think of Imagineering, that's where all the prototyping's done for their consumer products. KABC is where they produce a lot of commercials. They do some printing there as well. What's outlined in yellow here is the division where I actually work, my company. It's called the Grand Central Creative Campus. And that's where consumer products come from. Whatever you see in Walmart or in the Disney stores is a direct product from this area, the Grand Central Creative Campus. You see the entrance to the area where I work, my company. That's the specific building that I actually work in. We also have Disney Interactive. That's where they make the video games. Now that's separate from our work with consumer products, but we are housed together. This is gives you an idea what it looks like inside the lobby. Disney Publications has an entire floor. And you can see lots of photographs and images on the wall. If you have a block, like writer's block or creative blockages, you can walk around and get some ideas. It's really inspiring and very, very visual. I mean, the corporate headquarters aren't like that, but it's really amazing how visual the whole environment is. I can't believe that I get to work in that building. There's just an example of one of the walls. We're always showing products, prototypes, and examples. Again, it's very visual. Another example of what you might see displayed. This is showing Marvel and the kind of prototypes we have out, products we've made. You know, some are papers and publications and games and interactive sort of things. You know, it's just a whole line of products. This is a good idea what our meeting rooms look like. Pretty comfortable, right? For a meeting room. That's what our office actually looks like. Each of us has our own cubicle, And they do have doors for privacy. We've got our own computer stations. We've got dual monitors, which is really nice. And everyone's allowed to decorate their cubicle, their room, however they like. This is one of my friends. He's a character artist and focuses primarily on Disney's princesses and fairies. He does color painting. Another friend of mine who focuses on hand drawings. And they become an outline that's ingested into the computer later. This is our corporate communications team. This is the team I work with. Not everyone's there, but it gives you an idea of the people I work with, the team I work with. It's the corporate communications team, and there are 5 different groups within it. There's the internal communication department. We have corporate citizenship, franchise and retail communications, global events and show production, and then external communications. Now I get to talk about my work, finally. I want to talk more about my biggest project I've done this year. And I was responsible to take the lead from start to finish. This is an event for all of the creative folks to come together, kind of like a seminar, but they could relax all day, attend presentations. Like I'm here presenting. There were a whole variety of presentations, but lots more audience participation, very interactive, and each day had its own theme. And I was selected to lead the planning and delivery of this event. It was called Spark. The budget for that event was $65,000, which is a considerable amount of money. This was the very first logo I got. It was there. I inherited this one, but had to figure out how to apply it to the event. And it had a color theme that came along with it. So the first thing that came to mind for me was CMYK. You know, you use that for color printing, and I wanted to bring that back and show them that it's not only for printing, there's other things you can do with color combinations. And these are very creative people. Before I started, I wanted to kind of collect some inspiration, and I used Pinterest. That's one of the best places you can use to collect different forms of inspiring ideas. And we developed a brand booklet. We did some branding via a brand booklet because I wanted to maintain consistency throughout the entire event. From the logo colors to the typography, the text, and the images. I've got more examples to demonstrate what I mean. Once the brand book is finished, I showed it to my team, and if they were good with it, then I went forward. If they weren't happy with it, then we modified each theme. So the first thing I started was the cover for the program booklet. And we came up with a variety of ideas we looked at and critiqued and picked the top 3 from the right. And those were the best for me, so we picked those. And we didn't make one single book cover. We made 3 different book covers showing CMY, the concepts of cyan, magenta, and yellow. And it was more exciting that way as well, having the variety. I couldn't figure out how to explain to them C and Y together becomes green. So how would we demonstrate that? I came up with the idea of separate colors printed on paper. And I had to test it first before I showed my boss. You see the test here with the transparencies. We had paper covered by transparency. My boss loved it, but we had some concerns about the budgetary implications, the cost of printing it that way. You know, having to divide the cost of each booklet and each of the chairs and everything we produced. It was about $2,500 to print the booklets, the program books. So we pulled that together and asked vendors if they'd support the printing, because it wasn't that bad. We got that approved, and then we went forward. I was supposed to start with program book first, but the presenter's information hadn't been received yet. We didn't want to sit around. Time was wasting, so we went ahead, printed this first, again using 3-color posters, CMY, cyan, magenta, and yellow. And you see different things we made. We had signage for the restrooms, wayfaring signage, things to support check-in. Now, this was a test of the program booklet. We had to get the content, and then we could start our process once we received more of the content. And I talked about wanting to brand the booklets as it applied to the theme for the whole conference. And I wanted a consistent feel for the entire event and all of the products. Here's more examples from the program book. Now, this was the event room. I was also responsible to get the right furniture, the right chairs. I wanted couches, sofas, and appropriate lighting, and everyone took some responsibility. For the background, I had those posters. I told them I wanted 6 small rectangles. Now, the event was SPARC, S-P-A-R-C. And we wanted an animation that would smoothly show all 6 panels. I couldn't figure out how I was going to do that so it would scroll across smoothly. So we ended up making a large video card that we cut into individual pieces. And I realized that took so much time and memory to render. And the video ended up becoming 10 gigabytes. To render one video took 4 hours, 5 hours. I had 10 different speakers. We couldn't do that. They told me, well, if you can't finish, don't worry about it, but give up on branding it. But I wanted to make this work. So it took a whole weekend to finish that, working all day, but there was a huge payoff. Because I wanted to show those different people what I could do, what my team could accomplish, what we could do with us as a team. So we went for it. Also, the president of creativity showed up as well. I thought, whoa, if we're going to have the president there, we better be impressive. This is an example of a looping video. You know, we had these really large screens, and when people entered, they could see it smoothly looping. Now, this is an example of a slide from the presentation, one presenter. That same theme, how we transition out of one slide and prepare to transition into the next. This shows the complete room with the lights, some of the furniture that's ready, the chairs. I couldn't get what I wanted. I really wanted the color to pop. Again, cyan, magenta, and blue. Yellow, magenta, and blue. The cyan. And I ordered CMY pillows to go along with our entire set. The one thing I was really concerned about, I was worried when we took all day to set up the room with we had the events team, the audiovisual team, all these teams, and everyone had to work together to make this happen. One thing was missing, the books. And the event was going to be the next day. So I asked, where's my book? We have to have this. How are we going to run? We invested so much in that book. They said, don't worry, we'll bring it. It's a good company. They'll have it. They'll be ready. And I just had to trust them. They said they'd get it done overnight. It had cost more to have it produced overnight, but I didn't care. I wanted the books there. And we kept working on that. The first speaker was showing up Monday evening. They had to give me their slides so I could add them in to all of the posters and everything we'd be screening. So I ended up working into the early morning, 2 o'clock in the morning, before the day the event started. I got home, caught some sleep. The next day I checked my phone to see if my books were there. What a relief, they'd arrived. I brought a couple of the books so I could show you the actual product. And I explained I wanted to get the colors all working together. I'll pass it around so you get a chance to look at it up close. I was really surprised that the event was supposed to be capped at 450 people. We had more than that. Some men showed up and said, sorry, we can't cap it. We've got to let more people in. Oh. And this is the theater we used. I couldn't believe it. So I didn't actually pick this theme. Some other folks did. But I really appreciated the opportunity, and they appreciated the work we'd done. I'm surprised we have 450 copies of that book, cost $6,500 to print. Expensive, especially because it was overnight printing with a rush order. That kind of also caused it to cost, that also drove the price up. As a communication designer, I want to show some of the other work we've done, other samples. And that Spark was the largest project I've done. We had the posters, the publications, the emails. There was just so much involved. We had environmental design. Our first environmental design, the president of creativity asked me to design their wall gallery. I'd never done that kind of work before, ever. I was really nervous. I wasn't sure if I'd get the measurements right, if things would be printed and then they'd fit. And he said, no limitations. do whatever you need to do. On the left here, that was my inspiration. And then I did a comp through the center. It's a computer generated, fake if you will. And then the final included the logo is a 3-day pop out. It had the wall, and then the light bulbs came up into it. There was like, the lighting was like footers. It was $15,000 to produce that wall gallery. But it wasn't out of my budget, and it certainly wasn't out of my pocket. This is a publication I also had to do. Every couple months, we have a publication for the Disney store. It's for their workers, and we produce this every 2 months. I was the only designer on this project. I had to do all the design myself. This is my favorite poster. An example of the work we did with this one. There's a booklet, another example of a product for Disney products. And, you know, you see the kinds of things we have to do on with this sort of work. We also do event posters, as well as email invitations for events. It's an example of one of our event posters. On the right-hand side is kind of a rough draft, and then on the left you see one of the finished products. This is something new for us, digital signage. When I started working for the company, we weren't using digital signage yet. This is a recent development. And I found that we often communicate with other workers through email, and they don't read it. They're so busy, they miss events. So we came up with a solution in the form of digital signage. And that's one way we announce different events or things that are happening in the company. It stays in the same spot, and every time you walk by, every time you pass that location, you see the signage. They've started doing this within our company, and they're expanding all over America. Right now we have about 250 digital signs, and I'm responsible to run all of them. I make 100 to 200 slides per year, and that's a lot of work. Here's an example of some of the slides I've made. These are movie character descriptions. And for book releases, Did You Know is one of the things we put up on our digital signage. They're just examples of slides I've made that get displayed on our digital signs. Sometimes I've got to produce a slide and I only have an hour. Pretty stressful, but I'm getting used to it, those kinds of deadlines. Oh, this was one of my mistakes. That's a movie called Guardians of the Galaxy. It's a Marvel film. And those characters weren't supposed to be revealed to the public yet. So we have some strict procedures for getting approval from the different companies, Marvel, Star Wars, Pixar, Disney. We have to get approvals before things go public. So I had made those slides, I showed them, and they said okay. They said, okay. I thought that meant it was approval to go ahead and use them. We had these posted on 250 digital screens. The next day I get this email from Marvel Company. They were a little peeved at me. They said, why are you showing those characters in public? I got pretty scared. I couldn't believe how fast. The slides had leakage all over the world. They were in Russia, they were in China, like overnight. 2 people took pictures of the work, posted them on Facebook and Instagram. Social media, you can't believe how fast stuff spreads. So it was my error. So every time I finish now and I send it to post-production, I make sure I have permission to post before I post them. The project I'm working on right now is brand development for the president of my company. Looks like it's easy to make, but not really. We have 4 different companies: Marvel, Star Wars, Pixar, and Disney. And these are different icons. For example, Marvel doesn't want, who next to it? Oh, they don't want Mickey Mouse juxtaposed with Iron Man. They just don't want Mickey Mouse standing next to Iron Man. They want some separation. They don't want the princess standing next to Iron Man. So it was challenging to try and get all the characters in. You know, some characters are powerful and other characters have different characteristics. So trying to get the whole thing to fit and have the color scheme work, it's pretty challenging. This is about exploration. For example, Marvel's in red. And they said, no, it comes through too much as pink. We wanted to make it blend with all of them together. These are presentation slides for the president. And you get to see what shows the most. Then this is the final product. Till about 2 weeks ago, they told me that all of the characters were male. They wanted to make sure we included female characters as well. I couldn't believe it. I thought we were done. And this gives you an idea of how I first started on the logos. Doing rough drafts on the computer, and you can see a bit of the process. Be Our Guest for the Disney store. That's from a movie called Beauty and the Beast. It's a line from the movie, a song in the movie Be Our Guest. And this was the final logo. I learned that within our company, they always want kind of stacked logos. They want a stacked logo. They want the image and the text as well, so it's more flexible. Oh, this is my mood board. You know, you can apply colors, feelings, texture. So again, it shows the process of development. This was my first large project I did for my company right after I got the job. It was about 3 months after I was hired. And I came up with the logo called Rediscover Disney. It wasn't easy to make it, but I did make it through. It was printed on different products for events. They had shopping bags, clothing. I was surprised they used it that widely. And this was the first time I used animation using After Effects. I had no idea how to use the program, and I ended up being self-taught at home through Linda. Lynda.com. I was really struggling with it. It was quite time-consuming. That was my very first animation. Ah, trivia for you. The Disney store comes up with different themes. This time we had Mary Poppins. And that was the first logo that could apply for Mary Poppins. You've got backgrounds, the dark sky, the elements for the Mary Poppins theme. I needed to find the right style that I could use to apply in terms of brand development. And then whatever the executives liked the most, I'd use that and go from there. So I always show them a number of examples and give them choices. We had to make an award, so whoever won gets the award. That was an umbrella. And they made a real umbrella. I mean, they made it in different scales, smaller, bigger, but we had to prototype it before we could send it out for mass production. I mean, this was a very rough draft of our prototype. And the packaging, this was the box that it came in. And here you can see the final product. And this is made in China, manufactured in China. I don't know why they sent it to China to manufacture, but I didn't make the handle, the parrot. Oh, we got a 3D modeler to make the handle. After I showed them, you know, these ideas and concepts, it cost $150. Could you imagine? It's because of the bird, I think, on the handle. Here's another thing I did. This is my favorite task to do. We do an emailed newsletter, do a lot of work in Photoshop, and then have to convert that to email. At that point, you have to test if it works on the email platform, if it'll work on mobile, on phones, as well as on the computer. So you have to work on phones and tablets and computers, and I love it. But so far, they've worked out. This gives you an example of the complexity we get within our emailed newsletters and the kinds of conversions we have to do. And that'll wrap up. I'll show you one last animation.
We have a lot of fun, and we hope we can really do some exciting things in the future.
That video was 2 minutes long. That's it, just 2 minutes. But to produce it took a team 6 months of work, and we finished on time. It was not at all easy to make, and no one person made that video. There was a whole bunch of specialists on the team. For example, one person focused on character animation only, another focused on found video, inserting clips. Another person did all the titles. It was a team effort. And every year we have a different video we can show. We show them at meetings, at conferences. People all over America have licenses from our country, from our company. Target, Walmart will come out, and they see that video. It's very inspirational. And it's a way of connecting, of welcoming people. And it's inspiring for them, same concept. So that was my last item I wanted to show you, and I'll wrap it up here. (2008). After I graduated, I had no idea what I wanted to do. Of course, that was a scary moment because I felt like I left my family here and all my friends. I was on my own. I had 3 cities I was thinking of: Boston. Also, I thought about moving to Texas or California. I picked California because I thought there were so many opportunities. It's a center of entertainment in the entertainment industry. And I didn't have a job or any sort of offer, but I took the risk of moving out to California. No way to earn money or support myself, but I had saved so I could survive for 4 months without working at all. When I moved to California, I took several months off, about 6 months off. However, within 2 weeks, I got a phone call. I had no idea who was calling. I went. Could we bring the lights up, please? Could we bring the house lights up a bit, please? I know you're all excited to see Andy's presentation, but we're grateful he could come share his experience at NTID. We have the Edmund Lyon Memorial Lecture. It's given twice a year. Each semester, we invite a guest speaker who's a successful deaf individual from industry, and they come to present at the college at NTID to students in a similar program. This semester, we're having communication studies, and we're happy to have Andreas Wezel Peterson with us. He's the Lyon lecturer, and that's supported by the Lyon family. Edmund Lyon was involved with the Rochester School for the Deaf for many years and was also on the RIT Board of Trustees. He had a strong interest in the deaf community in Rochester and took the opportunity to advocate and bring people here to demonstrate successful deaf individuals who can serve as role models for our students. And this semester we've brought Andreas, who can talk about his experience. I advise you to pay attention and learn from him, and give a warm welcome to Andy. Hi, I'm Andy, and I'm sure happy to be here today. I still can't believe it. This is a record opportunity for me. It's the opportunity of a lifetime. I want to first talk a little about my background and who I am. How I ended up in California working at Disney. And then I want to talk a bit about my company. I also want to talk about my work, what I actually do as a communication designer. So I hope you'll enjoy the presentation today. I hope I can inspire you. I grew up in Germany and then moved to Rochester in the year 2000 without money, support, without clothes, without anything, just starting out from scratch. Could you imagine that? In 2001, I enrolled here at RIT NTID, majoring in AIS, which is, the major was AIS. I graduated with an associate degree, and then cross-registered at RIT, graduating in 2000.